To be honest, I thought we were gonna sit down and have a real easy little Q&A time. I thought we would have a lot of questions about like easy lunch ideas for kids, maybe what homeschool curriculum we used or where I get my kids' clothes, but no. You went right to the deep stuff. So I literally looked through to find some like lighthearted questions, and 98% of them are like, whew, nice and in-depth. So we're gonna tackle those today. Buckle up, grab your favorite drink, which for me, I'm such a boring drink person. 99% of the time, you'll just find me with my big old water bottle. I just drink a lot of water, and it looks like this one actually needs to be cleaned. But it could also be a good video for you to just watch while you work, because we're literally sitting and talking today. But I hope that you are inspired in some way, encouraged in your motherhood journey. Motherhood is not an easy journey, but it is so worth it and such a beautiful gift. So we're gonna dive right in. If you're new here, my name is Steph. I'm a mom of 4, ages 9, 6, 4, and 1. We're in a super busy but such a fun stage. I just want to bottle it all up and savor it forever. So I'm gonna pull up my questions here and we'll get right to it. I've learned a lot in my 9 years of mothering, but I don't know it all. So just keep that in mind. What are your tips for trying to stay calm and patient when kids aren't being so calm and patient? This is hard, but one thing that really helps me and that I have kept really high priority through my motherhood journey is never to yell at my kids. That only escalates the situation. To me, doesn't actually make any sense because we're telling them to be quiet while we're shouting. Turning on some like soft worship music can help. Sending them outside, I mean, kids have a lot of energy. So I guess it depends what kind of calm and patient you mean. If it's just that they're like in good spirits but just loud, or if it's they're being grumpy. Because if they're grumpy, then I would handle that differently. But if it's just that they're being loud and have a lot of energy, either go for a walk with them, let them run it off beside you, or turn on some soft worship music that can just help your heart feel a little bit more at ease. How do you try to fix a healthy, balanced meal when things get busy? Love your videos. Thank you so much. Honestly, I feel like healthy food does not have to be any more work than junk food. You just have to be prepared for it. So stock up on groceries that are healthy foods and make sure you don't bring the junk food in, because otherwise you'll just tend to reach for those. I find that the more I have healthy groceries and options to make healthy foods, the more I will reach for those and the more we all learn to love them. So some healthy meal ideas that we really love is some kind of a taco salad or power bowl, some kind of soup, and you can make those in big batches. You could even do like a food prep day one day and make a big batch of soup that has all these vegetables and protein and stuff in it. The kids love grilled cheese on, I do it on sourdough bread, but you could do whatever bread you choose. And then just for snacks, like have foods ready. Make protein bars ahead of time, or cut up fruits and veggies, put them in containers in your fridge. Do some food prep, and that goes a long, long way. Even just throw together a smoothie. One of our kids' favorite snacks, I just throw a bunch of fruit and yogurt into the smoothie and they love it. Routines, which ones you have / follow and how? Ooh. Well, I've been sharing some routines on my channel here, like my morning routine or our Sunday routine. As far as like my kids have never had a very specific sleep and wake schedule in my mind. I mean, they sleep when they're tired and they wake up when they're rested. And yeah, I guess just for our lifestyle, that's worked pretty well for us. And then I guess I could share like our evening routine sometime. What it's like with more than one kiddo and their routines. Okay, lots of routine questions. Yeah, I feel like going from 0 to 1 is definitely the biggest change because suddenly someone is relying on you for literally everything. With more than one kid, so I'm sure it depends too, like how close you have them. If you have 4 under 4 is very different than if you have 4 ages 9 and under, because by age 9, so our oldest daughter is a huge help with, she can watch the baby while I quickly finish supper, or they can help clean up, or even the little ones can go grab you a diaper, things like that. What's the hardest part of motherhood? I think just being self-sacrificial. You realize when you become a mom how focused you were before, and suddenly it's not just all about you anymore, and you might not always have time to feel completely put together. You might be just sitting down to enjoy a hot cup of tea and the baby wakes up early from a nap. Things like that. So just to be self-sacrificial, and what's most rewarding? Everything. I love being a mom so much. Most rewarding is definitely when I feel like, oh, there's so many, when they come up with the sweetest little cards or put their grubby little arms around your neck and hug you, and realizing that you're their everything. You are the one that can comfort them the best. You're the one that they look up to the most, all these things. It truly is such a gift and such a big responsibility that God gifted these little ones to us for these years, and to raise them up for Him. How do you keep on top of things? I don't. Motivation, discipline, how to get stuff done on bad/difficult days. So I talked about this a little bit. Oh, and she also says, love your videos. You guys are so sweet. I talked about this a little bit in my Sunday routine video, but rest is actually super important. And I feel like often, especially as moms, we just it's almost a shame to rest. And I don't think it should be that way. We can function so much better when we are rested. So this can look like being disciplined in our bedtimes also, and not just going off once the kids are in bed on going off on social media or watching movies or whatever. Making rest important for yourself as well. And if Sunday cannot be a day of rest for you, as far as you're hosting, constantly running around, then let that be your Monday. Make room in your schedule for one day of the week to just give yourself a lot of grace. Only do the absolute minimum around the house. And for me, that actually helps me be so much more productive the rest of the week. And then of course, yes, it does take discipline to stay on top of things, figuring out routines. Honestly, I feel like since we moved into this big 1700s 3-story house, it has taken a lot of discipline. There's just so many rooms, and I'm still figuring out cleaning routines and all of that, but it's definitely helpful to not do it all in one day, and spread it out a little bit more. As Christian mothers, what are the biggest challenges we face, in your opinion? And what are the biggest blessings we received as Christian mothers as we strive to keep Christian values alive in our homes? Ooh, that's a good one. Biggest challenges, I feel is just, the one that comes to mind first is just the culture. There's so many things in our culture today that are very blatantly against what the Bible teaches. And so instilling those values in our children, teaching them to have the conviction for these things without it just being as long as it's just mom and dad said we can't do this because, then we haven't done our job. It needs to be a conviction in their spirit, and that they understand why we aren't taking part in these things. And a lot of doing that is just being faithful in teaching them the Word of God, praying over them. But that's what would come to mind first as far as being the most challenging thing we face as Christian moms, but not too big for God. Not at all too big for God. In fact, if you look back in history, some of the biggest heroes of the faith grew up in really difficult circumstances and yet became these bold preachers of the truth, which is so exciting. What are the biggest blessings we received as Christian mothers? I mean, the Bible. We have this manual in front of us of how to raise our little ones and point them to Him, what to do when we're worn out and weary, and all these things. I feel a lot of these questions, just look in the Bible and it has answers for you. So that's definitely such a blessing, and that we can just take it all to the Lord in prayer and leave our burdens there. What is the hardest thing you went through as a mother, or what was the hardest thing you had to sacrifice for your children? This will probably surprise you. I think for me, it's been morning sickness. I have really severe morning sickness with all my babies, and it's gotten worse with everyone, more intense and stayed longer. So I know I've talked about this before, so I'll just be super brief here. But with my last pregnancy, I was on the couch, literally could not even walk up the stairs to go to bed because of such intense morning sickness. Even just reading to the kids, talking out loud, it would just everything made me want to gag. And so I was literally on the couch for 17 weeks with that, and then almost immediately after that I developed a hernia, and so the rest of the pregnancy was also on the couch. And for someone who is super active, does not even enjoy reading because it's too much sitting, that was really hard, and it really took a toll on me mentally, to where I actually developed PTSD from it. Yeah, so it's been a journey. Absolutely every single one of them is so worth it, but it was a big sacrifice on my part, and it's a lot of work to bring babies into this world, but again, so grateful for the opportunity still. Some of these are kind of redundant. Is your family completed? Are you having any more kids? I feel like we have more place and love to give, but husband is not wanting any more kids, so I have to respect his decision. Okay, so for our family, I don't know the answer, honestly. Josh and I would both love a really big family, but with how severe my morning sickness has gotten, it seems completely impossible to have more biologically, but adoption has definitely been on our hearts as well. So we'll see where the Lord takes all that. And then as far as respecting your husband and his decision, yes, absolutely the right thing to do, and pray about it. In our case, it was actually kind of switched around from that for our fourth baby, that my husband was ready for quite a while, and I was just honestly terrified of going through morning sickness again. And yet after prayer and all this, like, he was so patient for months. So be encouraged from our story that God can also change your husband's heart on the matter if that is his will. But yeah, I just bless you for respecting your husband and praying about it instead of being pushy. How do you divide between being a mother and being a great spouse to your husband? I think it's super important for your kids to realize that mom and dad are a team, and when they see you just loving on each other, it actually is a very big source of security for your kids as well. So, oh goodness, I feel like I'm just being so long-winded. All these are such good questions. I'm already like, I've recorded for almost 20 minutes and I've barely scraped the surface on these questions. So I'm gonna try to get up a little bit. What was the hardest transition for you in your motherhood journey? First child, second child, third child. First child was the biggest difference, but as far as the hardest transition, I feel like third, because then you're outnumbered. I feel like so many people say that, but it's true. What are your best tips for establishing and keeping routines for household management while having babies and toddlers? Okay, another routine question. Goodness. Okay, let me know in the comments below, like, what specific routines would you like me to do? Need to show you more cleaning routines or like planning stuff? I would love to know a little bit more detailed what kind of routines you would like to see. What is your biggest challenge and what brings you the most joy about being a parent? Okay, kind of answered this one already with the previous question on what's the biggest, whatever that was, biggest challenge and biggest joy. I was wanting to ask if you had any difficulties with your children and their faith. Have they all embraced God because you do? Or is there any resistance? I'm reading lots of material by Ruth Chow Simmons. You featured her book, so on and so on. Okay, I think it's important for us to realize as moms, we cannot save them. Our job is to instill seeds of truth in them, pour love into them, teach them the word of God, but the actual decision to follow Christ is going to have to be of their own. So I feel like if we put that weight on ourselves as moms, it's too much. It's beyond us. We cannot save our own souls, much less the souls of our children. So pray about it and just be diligent with teaching them the word. This is a fun one. I found a lighthearted one. What cravings for food did you have in your pregnancy? Okay, I had a lot of cravings for food in my pregnancy. I remember, especially my first pregnancy, I had the weirdest cravings. And the one that I think topped it all was, I thought the best thing ever was cottage cheese with peas and granola and honey all mixed together in a bowl. I don't understand, but I remember going up to my husband, and we were only married 6 months, I think, when I got pregnant. And I was like, babe, you've got to try this. This is the best thing ever. And he's like, are you okay? Anyways, that was probably the worst. I also remember him like cooking me scrapple, I think, at midnight one night. Anyway, It's definitely one of those typical like crazy cravings, pregnant ladies, especially in my first 2 pregnancies. How do you and your husband handle any differences in raising your children? So honestly, I feel like we don't have a ton of differences, but in places that we do, just talk about them and then explain to each other why you feel that way. So why is this way of parenting super important to you? And often it tracks back to some experience in your childhood that you're trying to either protect your children from, or that you felt really helped shape you and was a positive thing, and that's why you want to incorporate it. So that can really help you understand each other. Oh, what in motherhood brings you the most joy? I love those questions. That's amazing. So many wonderful things about motherhood. Okay. I wonder how do you manage taking care of the kids while you were pregnant / sick? Did you ask for help with the kids and the household cooking? Was there family or friends? And what if you need to have a break from it all, but your husband can't leave due to his work? Good question. So yes, I absolutely had help when I was pregnant. A couple of the pregnancies, one of my sisters from Canada actually flew in and helped. Oh dear, my battery's dying. Helped for a couple of weeks, which was super helpful. But honestly, Josh carried the weight of the world on his shoulders through my pregnancies. Like honestly, he would work hard all day long, often having 1, 2, 3 kids in tow with him. Then he would come in tired from work and literally have to do everything. Cook supper, clean up supper, like everything. He did all the household work. He was like, I often felt so bad for him. But that is like thanks to Josh that we even survived through the pregnancies. And then we did have some like family or friends that would drop off food as well. But honestly, I don't think a lot of them realized even how bad it was. It's super hard for me to like verbalize that when I'm in it, partly because it feels like people don't understand the extent of it, and partly because it's so hard for me to even talk. Like so often I would feel just trapped because I had all these feelings that I wish I could get out, even to Josh, but it just felt like too much effort to even try to get them over my tongue without throwing up or gagging. So how to not want to work on the house / cook / clean all day and stop and enjoy the kids. I have a hard time putting the tasks aside. Okay. Unpopular opinion of mine is moms don't have to sit down and play with their kids through the day. I feel like it's something I've struggled with so much and just felt like all this mom guilt over, because I felt like the more you sit down and play bricks with your kids, the better of a mom you are. Until one day my sister complimented me and she's like, wow, Steph, I really just admire how your kids know how to play by themselves and you don't have to always be playing with them. And I was like, oh really? Like I always feel guilty about that. And she's like, no, don't you remember when we were kids? Like, and then I got to thinking, and I wouldn't even have wanted my mom to come play with us. Like she was cooking, making cookies. We would go up to her once in a while and be like, Mom, sorry guys, we have so many flies in here. Mom, can you come see what we just made? And we would be so creative with all our play, but it never once occurred to me that my mom should be playing on the floor with us. And so that's something I have just allowed myself to let go of. I do think it is important to do things with your kids. I will often invite them to help me with the household chores. I think it's beneficial in multiple ways. We can be together, do fun things together, teach them that work is fun, and teach them all these like household skills. But there's rarely a time when I will just through the day of a weekday sit down and play dolls on the floor. Evenings are set aside for activities as a family, whether that's going for a walk or reading books or whatever. And then Sundays, we try to also take it super easy, as you saw in the Sunday routine. You can hate me for that, I guess, but I think it is important to also teach them to play on their own. Okay guys, this is getting so long. I'm gonna probably have to wrap it up soon. Let me find just 1 or 2 more. Do you believe in early childhood education? My son is 20 months old and whenever I'm trying to teach him something, he's just not interested. No, I would not worry about it. Kids learn so much at that age. And it's like my homeschool evaluator actually says, unless you have your kids locked up in a closet day after day, which I'm sure you don't, they are learning things. They are taking in so much. Our son, actually, I didn't do any even preschool with him. This is the first year that he's doing official school, and he is 6 years old and is just acing everything. I did a little bit of kindergarten stuff with him last year, not much. He's in 2nd grade math this year, just from what he learned in the barn with his grandpa. And he is breezing through learning to read, and just like, it has been such a good reminder to me that they are learning even when we're not sitting down there with a pen and a pencil. Okay, I did want to answer this one yet, so maybe we'll end with this one. What are your suggestions for raising boys in this modern day feminist world where masculinity is under attack? Good question. I think that so much attention is given to what is going on in the world, the fact that there is a feminist movement, what the world thinks. We're so consumed with all the like, don't do this, that was wrong, whatever, that we sometimes forget to encourage the things that are good. Start when they're young, like compliment them on their big muscles, or ask them to help you carry something heavy. Treat them like a little man and they want to become one. I think a strong father figure is so important for little boys especially. So if you have that for your son, that's obviously ideal. If you don't, find someone in your church or that you trust and look up to, and ask them to kind of mentor your son, because boys have that instilled in them. They want to be masculine, they want to be strong, they want to conquer hard things. So let them be boys. It's okay if they get dirty sometimes. It's okay if they climb trees sometimes, as long as they're safe. Let them be boyish and compliment them on their manliness, and it will surprise you how much that does. So anyways, I think I'm gonna stop here. I feel like that I could just go on and on. I know I didn't get to all the questions. Regardless of what you're walking through right now as a mom, know that you are not alone. I hope you're encouraged. Be blessed. I'm right here in the trenches with you, and let's go and love them well. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time. Bye, friends. Golden.